When you get started with building a new application from scratch, you're going to have a lot of tasks to address and prioritize. And it's easy to run straight to all of the shiny objects around your new idea. But be careful because you don't want to spend energy on the tasks that aren't actually going to serve the early versions of your app. In this video, I'm going to take you through 5 things you want to skip in your app's MVP development and what to do instead. It's Gabby over at Code to No Code Apps. We help non-technical entrepreneurs build custom apps so they can launch their app-based businesses or grow their existing businesses all without coding. Let's talk about the first thing that you want to skip during your MVP development, and that is building out a full-blown website with company branding, marketing information, your about page, all of the pricing options, and so on. You don't want to do this prior to actually validating your product and getting feedback, because it's that feedback that's going to dictate the content on the website. What you want to do instead is put up quick hit landing pages with basic messaging so that you can get early signups. This is going to help you collect those early users while also helping you test some early messaging around your product. Now, the exception here is if your application is an add-on to an existing business where you already have a customer base and you're launching this as an additional resource for them, well, then it makes sense to kind of layer in the information around this application into your existing website. The next area we're going to look at is user onboarding. Now, there's a lot of ways for you to introduce your users to your application, but keep in mind, in the early stages, you're still gathering feedback. You're still understanding what they need to know in order to be oriented in the app. So skip the fancy explainer videos and interactive tours that walk them through all of the features in your app, and instead talk directly to your beta users. Have real conversations with them to get a better sense of how intuitive everything is, because it's much more likely that you're going to be moving things around anyway. You're going to be adjusting, making edits, right, to these first versions a lot more frequently compared to later versions down the road. So don't waste time building out all of this onboarding material that's just going to change later anyway. Now, of course, the exception here is that if your app requires multiple steps for your users to get started, for example, they have to answer a questionnaire or provide certain details in order to set up their accounts in your application, well, then it makes sense to guide them through the process to make sure you collect that information properly. That way they can actually use the app as intended. Now, speaking of user feedback, this is another area where you can keep this simple and effective for your early stages of development. Skip the bloated formal feedback forms with all sorts of drop-downs and selections and questions that your users have to answer just to let you know how things are going for them. Instead, all you need to do is set up a simple contact form where they can send you an email. It'll be a good idea to collect their email address so that you can reply, and also a name so that you can personalize and know who you're talking to. But from there, it's just conversations, right? You don't need any fancy forms beyond that. You really want to spend time talking to your users to understand how things are going for them. That is where your energy is best spent compared to building out a complicated form just to collect their feedback. Now, of course, later down the road, when you're past MVP, it can make sense to automate that process a little bit more, especially if it helps to collect screenshots or to understand what page they were on when they encountered an issue, or just have general feedback and comments. But that's not something that you need to worry at this stage. Now let's talk about the design of your application. There's many tools out there that can help you create mock-ups and wireframes around the front-end interface and how everything's going to look. If you're not already experienced with these tools, don't worry about using them. It's another tool that you're going to have to learn and then have to redesign in your Bubble application again anyway. So save yourself the time and design your application directly in Bubble from the start. Bubble's design canvas has all of the styling tools that you need to make it look exactly how you want. And you can use this as a wireframing step. You don't necessarily need to connect everything to functionality if you're just not ready to do so and you're just trying to lay things out to get an idea of where you want to go. So design directly in Bubble. It's going to save you a lot of time. Now, the exception here is if you're working in a larger team, collaborative environment, and there are multiple stakeholders that need to review the designs and give feedback and comments and go through many rounds of iterations, then that's a good reason to use those tools because they have features around that kind of messaging system between team members. The next area we're going to look at is email marketing in Bubble. If you're building an application for business business, it's very likely you're going to be sending marketing emails to your users, whether they are potential users or existing users that are paying and in the app. Now, you can, of course, build a custom full-blown email marketing system in Bubble directly, but think about whether it's really necessary to spend your energy on this compared to all of the other features in your app. If your app's email functionality is more of a supporting role for other more important features, go ahead and hand off that functionality to third-party systems that do a great job of managing all of the list management, the contact management, the connection to email service providers, tracking the deliverability of those emails, and whether somebody clicks on a link in those emails. There's actually a lot that goes into managing a full email marketing system. Now, of course, if your application is all about email marketing, if you're, for example, creating a new platform for email marketing, then yes, you want to do all of that yourself, custom in your Bubble application, so you have control over everything. But this is one of those things that comes up very frequently with business apps where emails have to go out and they need to be very reliable. Rather than spending your energy on building all of that from scratch, right, and reinventing the wheel, hand that off to a third party that you can integrate with instead and spend your time on other features that are more important to keep custom. These are the tips we guide all of our own clients on so that they're not wasting time working on things that won't help their app. And many of them started with our free workshop over at coachingnocodeapps.com/workshop. This training will walk you through all of the planning, the no-code tools, and development strategy you need in order to start building your app. So join us for free at coachingnocodeapps.com/workshop.